before you give us a surprise and rip off your shirt.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Barry, for those that I would be hard-pressed to believe don't know who you are.
Oh, a lot of folks. My kids barely know who I am now. CD, I am a recovering entrepreneuraholic. I've had 3 businesses for the last 20 years. The first business went out of business. The second business, I was kicked out by my 2 partners a couple weeks before my first son was born. And the third business, which I actually started 2 weeks after my first son was born, I was lucky enough in 1999 to sell that business to pay back the bank the $1.3 million I owed them.
Oh my gosh.
And my wife, of course, tells me I got her back just about the same time.
Wow. Wow. And so I read I think it was your very first book, You Must Be Crazy.
Yeah, you need to be a little crazy.
Yes, yes. So do you still feel that you're a little bit crazy continuing to be a serial entrepreneur?
Oh, you got to be crazy because, CD, the risk that you take as an entrepreneur really doesn't match the return. Every once in a time, the return is really great, but most of the time, the most common outcome, obviously, is people fail. You don't really do it because it's a big risk. You really do it because you've got the passion, and quite honestly, most of us can't hold a full-time job. We can't work for anybody else.
That's funny you say that. Someone was asking me just earlier this week, would I ever get a full-time job? And I said, not unless this one doesn't work.
Yeah. Listen, if I had to, I would to support myself and my family, right? Mm-hmm. But what's success? Success is being able to support your family in something you love doing. And as long as that gig keeps going, I'm on it.
Do you find, Barry, because actually in November in San Francisco, there was a conference that was being promoted, the first of its kind, and it was called FailCon. Mm-hmm. And what I found very interesting about it, it was actually a conference where entrepreneurs who had failed and succeeded and failed again actually got up and shared those experiences with other new entrepreneurs and startups. And I thought that was very unique. I actually thought about you because I think, and I'm finding out in this space because I've failed before, that people don't want to hear about the fact that you can fail in business and that although it's not something we want, that's not exactly a bad thing, but it's a good thing because you can learn from it.
Well, I actually know the founder of FailCon. Actually, I can't remember her name, but I did a panel with her at the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco. And I think it's a great idea for people to realize that you're not alone, right?
Yes.
I mean, failure can be a very, very lonely place. I mean, it really is a place that you can get stuck in and it can really bring you down. I think one of the problems about failure in our society is the idea that that's a good thing, that you always can learn. Now, let me be clear. Failure stinks. It really does.
Yes.
There's nothing great about it. Can you learn from it? Yeah, sometimes you can learn from it. But the danger is that when we fail, because we tell ourselves stories that we always can learn from it, we kind of get stuck there. And we say we can't leave this place till we figure out why failure came to us and what failure happened. Sometimes it just stinks. I mean, in my last company, CD, my largest customer was indicted by the FBI. Now, what was I to learn? Not do business with criminals? I knew that. So the important stuff about failing is realizing that's just part of the business cycle. We'll fail, we'll succeed, we'll fail. Learn what you can. Have a pity party. Cheer the darkness if you want to. But then let go and just move on. That's the important part. Don't get stuck in that failure part and keep saying, why me? What am I supposed to learn? Sometimes it just stinks.
I agree. And I think going back to, you said that you had partners one time, or just with the person who was indicted, these are things that you probably just didn't know until they happened. You didn't know he was a criminal to begin with.
And I don't know, just because you're indicted doesn't mean you're a criminal. But things just happen, and you've got to be able to have the resiliency in small business, as we've all heard about, to ride the roller coaster, right? How do you celebrate the good times? And believe it or not, CD, a lot of people don't pause long enough to celebrate the good times.
Okay.
And then the second thing is, how do you transition through the really difficult times, right? That's another thing we need to learn.
When I'm glad that you're going to be speaking at unGeeked and that you've agreed to become a discussion leader and not a speaker. Tell me, with how I explained it to you, are you excited about actually engaging and discussing with the attendees versus pointing at a PowerPoint?
Well, I don't use PowerPoint in my presentations, almost never, because then they're looking at the PowerPoint and they're not looking at me.
True.
Their attention is focused away. Sometimes I use PowerPoint to show entertaining pictures or illustrations, but mostly I don't use a PowerPoint. Whenever I present, I'm always interacting with whoever I'm speaking with because that's the way that it keeps it interesting for myself, but it also customizes for who's in the room. The idea of being with people, speaking or being a discussion leader, is to try to have them learn something, and quite honestly, for me to learn something too.
I agree. I agree. Give us just a little bit, without giving away too much of the kitchen sink, some of the things that you're going to would like to touch on at unGeeked.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems, CD, is that we have a lot of small business owners. They get trapped in something I call the double helix trap. And this is a very common thing that we see. You know, small business owners, when they're working and things are going great, guess what? They're not doing any sales and marketing. And when they are only doing sales and marketing when they have no work. So you get this idea of this up and down for work and sales and marketing, and your business basically stays flat. One of the things I'll be talking about is how do you really break the double helix trap? And the key there is how do you set up systematic relationships with people? In other words, how do you stay in touch with people on a regular basis so when they do have the pain that you solve, they'll call you? We have to remember we can't actually sell anything to anybody. We just need to be there when people are ready to buy. And the only way to be there when people are ready to buy is have relationships with them on a consistent basis and build trust over a long period of time.
Oh, great. I think the attendees will be very happy to hear that. So, in closing, what would you like to say on this interview that will go up on YouTube, and we will, my favorite word is pimp it to the Twitterverse and Facebook. What would you say?
Well, the first thing I have to say, CD, is that I never really dressed like this. This is really one of my clients' webcam wear. And you know, we're doing a lot of stuff virtually now, right? I mean, I'm actually have pajama bottoms on the bottom as I'm talking to you. But every once in a while, you want to really get dressed up. You can see it just snaps there at the top, and you actually can just take it off, and then you're in whatever the work thing is, right? So it's perfect. But what I'm saying is I'm really looking forward to exchanging ideas at unGeeked. I've heard about your wonderful success, and I'm so glad you're coming to Chicago so I can be a part of it.
Well, thank you, Barry, and we're absolutely glad and fab that you're going to be a part of it too. So, love the T-shirt.
Hey, new products are created for new times, right?
Yes. Yes. And thank you so much for taking the time with us today, Barry. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.